Welcome back to Disturbed Reality. To the layman, the fragmentation of drug cartels caused by high-ranking members being captured or killed by authorities is a positive in the so-called war on drugs. Though, in reality, they are mere photo ops for the powers that be on both sides of the border, giving the impression that they are being proactive and tackling the problems at hand caused by drug cartels. This in fact couldn't be any further from the truth. Ultimately, fragmentation of drug cartels, usually caused by the so-called decapitation strategy, results in disaster. The decapitation strategy being a tactic which aims to remove the leadership or command of a hostile group, such as a cartel. However, as we've seen with many cartels, when prominent members of the criminal groups perish or are arrested, it usually results in a power vacuum left at the top of the organisation, which is then fought for by those vying for power. This results in the creation of splinter groups, who essentially then become their own criminal enterprise. The capture of a high-ranking cartel boss in the long run can in fact lead to an increase in violence. The Sinaloa Cartel in recent years have been plagued by this issue, especially since the arrest of Joaquin Guzman, aka El Chapo. His sons, Los Chapitos, have taken over his faction of the Sinaloa Cartel, and ever since their father's arrest, they have been causing internal strife within the Sinaloan Federation, notably against the long-reigning capo Ismael Zambada, El Mayo, and even against their uncle, Mariano Guzman, aka El Guano, the brother of their father, El Chapo. The internal splintering within the Sinaloa Cartel has been felt across certain states in Mexico, though none more than Sonora, where violence has skyrocketed in recent years. Truth be told, Sonora has become a vital state for Mexican cartels to control, and in recent times, the area has become a free-for-all with various cartels vying for control. In 2021 alone, Sonora racked up nearly 1,800 murders, which was a 20% increase on the previous year, and violence has progressively remained at an alarming state. One reason for this would be the emergence of the Caborca cartel in 2019. The Caborca cartel was founded by veteran drug trafficker Rafa Caro Quintero, aka El Narco de Narcos, the man who used to run the Guadalajara cartel alongside Miguel Angel Felix Gallardo and Ernesto Fonseca Carrillo. Sonora has become increasingly important in the drug war due to its close proximity to the United States. It being a border state makes it vital to control due to its strategic trafficking routes into the USA, both in regards to drugs, counterfeit goods, and migrants. Under the leadership of Rafa Caro Quintero, the Caborca cartel became a powerful entity in the local region, mainly due to the reputation of Caro Quintero and his ability to bribe local police. The Caborca cartel rose relatively quickly since their inception, though Rafa Caro Quintero was once again captured by authorities in San Simon, Sinaloa in 2022, and is currently being held at the infamous Altiplano Rehabilitation Center in the state of Mexico. His arrest came at a terrible time for the Caborca cartel, as it happened at the same time as elements of the Sinaloa cartel were attempting to expand their own influence in the state. As a result, this caused a conflict between the Caborca cartel and the Sinaloa cartel. Los Chapitos, the sons of El Chapo, realized the importance of controlling the border state of Sonora, and they focused on the region, swarming the area with cells of gunmen looking to take territory from the Caborca cartel. At this point, the two cartels have been fighting in the state for the best part of 3 to 4 years, and the violence still occurs intermittently. Los Chapitos relied on two separate factions in particular to do their bidding in Sonora: Los Cazadores and Los Salazares. Los Salazares eventually garnering the reputation of being arguably one of the deadliest Sinaloa cartel factions. Los Salazares' ruthless campaign in Sonora in particular enabled Los Chapitos to enjoy a greater deal of influence in the area due to their ruthless tactics and take no prisoners approach. Without doubt, the Salazares were a huge asset to Los Chapitos. In fact, they have been a key Sinaloa Cartel faction since the days of El Chapo, serving as his lieutenants. However, in recent times, Los Salazar have split from the Sinaloa Cartel, along with Los Cazadores, to go independent. Some are calling this new alliance the Independent Cartel of Sonora. Los Paredes, another former faction of Los Chapitos, also joined this new alliance. Reasons for the split are somewhat unknown. However, one of the theories is that the split was caused by Los Salazar disagreeing with Los Chapitos over the trafficking of fentanyl in Sonora state. During the fall of 2023, Los Chapitos put out the order to stop all fentanyl dealing in Sonora, though Los Salazar were said to have ignored this request, subsequently forcing the two groups to split. The order to stop, or at least pause fentanyl trafficking, came from the fact that the Chapito faction of the Sinaloa Cartel have been facing increased pressure from the DEA and US authorities, which of course in early 2023 resulted in the arrest of El Raton, Ovidio Guzman. It's said that the remaining leaders of Los Chapitos, Ivan Guzman, Jesus Guzman, and Joaquin Guzman, struck a peace deal with their godfather, El Mayo Ismael Zambada, the most senior leader within the Sinaloa Cartel, who they were previously in disagreement with. El Mayo apparently set the conditions for the peace deal, and one of the conditions was that Los Chapitos had to give up all fentanyl trafficking. This is why several months ago, we saw narco banners signed by Los Chapitos that all fentanyl activities were banned. Los Chapito enforcement wings, such as Los Pelones and Los Memos, then murdered violators of the new rule set. Some speculate that El Mayo wanted this truce agreement with his godsons to come together to fight the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, currently their biggest rivals. In return, it said that Mayo agreed to help the Chapitos improve their security and increase protection against law enforcement stings. Los Salazar, refusing to comply with the new rules surrounding fentanyl, subsequently linked up with Los Cazadores and Los Paredes and went to war with their old employers. It's also said that local influential trafficking families have also shown support to the new Salazar-Cazadores-Paredes alliance due to the deep-held resentment towards Los Chapitos. Since the fall of 2023, but especially since the beginning of 2024, violence has erupted in Sonora, and a series of graphic execution videos have been released, mainly on the side of Los Salazar. The alliance is primarily led by the Salazar group, and they have been operating on overdrive when it comes to releasing propaganda against their rivals, execution videos being included in this propaganda campaign. Sonora has been violent for several years, but the new war between Los Chapitos and Los Salazar has already been incredibly brutal, and it's arguably the standout story in the narco world in 2024. The new Sonora alliance between the Salazars, Cazadores and the Paredes should also be closely monitored, as if they are indeed successful in the war with Los Chapitos and gain more influence, power and territory in Sonora, we could then be looking at yet another major player in Mexico's underworld. To control a border state such as Sonora would possibly springboard and encourage the Sonora alliance to then push into other states, creating a new cartel superpower. However, on the 6th of May 2024, a brutal piece of propaganda footage was released by Los Pelones, where they ruthlessly executed an alleged member of Salazar, showcasing the brutality of the current ongoing situation between the Salazars and the Chapitos. But nevertheless, what happens in the actual video? The video itself is 1 minute exactly, and it was shot during the dead of night in the middle of nowhere. It seems to be a rural desert type location. The video has also somewhat been obscured by text, which I presume to be the tag of the person who uploaded it. As you play the video, you are met with the sight of the captive, who is laying on his back on the dirt floor, and he is being held down by at least 3 sicarios. One is holding him down by pressing a shovel against his chest, another is holding him down by the shoulders, and the third can be seen pressing the victim's head against the ground. Under inspection, it's clear that the victim has already been severely tortured. At least one of his ears has been cut clean off. The Sicario, who is holding the man's head down, is also carrying what looks like a penknife or a switchblade. It's pretty small. As the man is being held down, a Sicario mocks him and states, "So you were saying long live Pelones, right? Long live Pelones, long live Pelones, long live Pelones, you dick." He then states to the victim, "Okay buddy, you're next," before then joking, asking a fellow Sicario, "Is this how it's done?" while placing the blade on the victim's throat. His fellow Sicario sarcastically replies, "Yes, that's exactly how it's done." The man with the blade, which again is small, proceeds to slice back and forth against the victim's throat, all while pulling under his chin and covering his mouth with his hand. The victim lets out a horrible deep groan as the friction of the blade causes him distress. The knife is blunt, however, and takes a while to fully cut into the man's throat. The cameraman gets close to the victim's face, and you see his eyes dart around in panic as the Sicario is attempting to cut him. Eventually, the blade finally cuts into the man's throat, and blood begins to slowly leak. At this point, as the blade fully penetrates, the victim's eyes bulge open as he experiences the excruciating pain. The Sicarios continue to mock the victim, one shouting, "Long live Los Pelones, you fuck." The hitman doing the cutting pulls under the man's chin harder, and it causes the gash in the victim's neck to widen, and you then see the blade penetrate the windpipe. The victim closes his eyes in pain, and you hear the all too familiar sounds of laboured breathing mixed in with wheezing and bubbling blood. The Sicario then essentially twists the man's head right and then left as he cuts around the sides of the man's neck. It was apparent when the Sicario hit the carotid artery, as in a matter of seconds, blood begins to flow more profusely and it then puddles on the ground. This also causes the sounds of wheezing and bubbling blood to get even louder and more violent. The man's neck has been cut so deep that it doesn't even hold the head onto the body with any real strength. This then allows the Sicario to twist and turn the head with ease. Without trying to sound disrespectful, it makes the victim look like a human bobblehead. It's utterly grim. One of the Sicarios then states, "Take a look at how beautiful that wet work looks," wet work being a term for a beheading. Another says in a jovial tone, "Check out how beautiful that blood pours out. That's exactly how it should be done, doggies, just like that." At this point, the sounds of bubbling blood and wheezing are still extremely loud. However, you see that the victim's eyes, although open, stop moving. The Sicario, after twisting and turning the head, then tries to stab his way through the spinal cord from the front of the neck. It's an extremely close-up view, and you see the severed windpipe, as well as the arteries continuing to pump blood. The video ends there. Towards the end, Sicarios can be heard shouting the usual cartel rhetoric. One states, "This will be the fate of every Salazares gunman. Every Salazares operative will go through this." While another states, "You dogs, the only ones in charge here will be Los Pelones. Where are the Salazares gunmen at now?" At the end of the video, as the Sicario was trying to stab through the spinal cord, a fellow hitman with the shovel intervenes and says to him, "I've got the shovel here for that particular bone." Meaning, off camera, the spinal cord was more than likely cut through with the shovel. So there we go, another day, another cartel video, and right now, well, since the turn of the year, Sonora has been very hot in regards to this sort of content and just violence all round, so it's definitely a developing story and we will continue to monitor it as we progress in time. Of course it's a developing situation, but as of right now, things appear to be getting more violent. But anyway, that is the video. I hope you enjoyed it, if you can enjoy this sort of content. As always guys, thank you for the support. We've been going now for over 3 years, which is pretty crazy. Yeah, my links are in the pinned comment, my Twitter, my Twitch, etc. If you could check those out, it would be much appreciated. As you can tell, or as you can hear, maybe, I still feel a bit croaky. Not really sure what's up with me lately, but we will persist, and yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is. But anyway, as always, stay safe, and I'll catch you on the next one.